Hi, second grade. This is Miss Weiss. Today I am doing the math lesson for Monday, May 11th, 2020, and it is day 1 of your new work packet. I hope you had a nice weekend. Let's go ahead and get started. We are going to start with unlock the problem. In your packet, you have this problem. Make sure you follow along with me. Let's read it together. Miss Irvin has 37 pennies. Mr. Mitchell has 55 more pennies than Miss Irvin. How many pennies does Mr. Mitchell have? What do we know? What is important? Those are the questions in the first box on your paper. One thing we know is that Miss Irvin, I'm going to write an I for Miss Irvin, has 37 pennies. I'm going to write 37 and I'm going to make the cent sign. We also know that Mr. Mitchell has 55 more pennies than Miss Irvin. So I'm going to write an M for Mr. Mitchell, and I'm going to write 55 more. We don't know how many Mr. Mitchell has yet. We just know that he has 55 more. The next box says, what are we trying to find? What is the question? I'm going to underline the question. How many pennies does Mr. Mitchell have? That's the question, and we are trying to find how many pennies Mr. Mitchell has. What is the unit? What are we talking about? Are we talking about pizzas? Are we talking about airplanes? Are we talking about dollars? No, we're talking about pennies. So our unit is pennies. Whatever our answer is, we are going to be talking about pennies. The next box says, how will we use the information to solve the problem? This is where I want you to think about what type of equation you can write to help you solve the problem. Will you be adding or subtracting? Mr. Mitchell has 55 more pennies than Miss Irvin. If he has more than Miss Irvin, should you add or subtract? Take a minute to write down the equation. You can pause the video while you do it. Okay, let's go over the equation you wrote. If you said addition, you're right. Great job. Because Mr. Mitchell has more pennies, you are going to put together how many Miss Irvin has, 37, with how many more Mr. Mitchell has. So your equation should be 37 plus 55. You can also write this vertically so that your tens and ones are lined up. Now you're ready to solve the problem. Here it's written vertically. There it's written horizontally. I'm also going to write it vertically so that it's easier to bundle our ones, because I can tell that we are going to need to make a new group, a new 10. Sorry, that's so messy. 37 plus 55. I know I'm going to have to make a new 10 because 7 plus 5 is 12, and 12 is more than 12 can't go in the ones place. When you are done solving, write your answer in a complete sentence. Remember to start with a capital letter and end with punctuation. Also remember that our unit is pennies, so make sure you put the unit in there. When you are done, send a picture to your teacher. Now let's do some fluency. Today we are reviewing some of our units. Pause the video and go ahead and fill in the missing parts, and then we'll go over it together. Let's go over it. 10 ones equals blank 10. I know that 10 ones is the same as 1 10. 100 ones equals blank tens and 10 ones. I know that 100 ones is the same as 100. And 100 equals 10 tens. If I make one of those tens, into ones, it's going to be 9 tens, 90, and 10 ones. 120 ones equals blank tens and 10 ones. This is just like the last one. 120 ones is the same as 120. If I have 10 ones, how many tens am I still going to need? I am still going to need 11 tens. 11 tens is the same as 110. 140 ones equals blank tens. I see there are 4 tens in the tens place, but don't get tricked. Remember, we have to change the hundreds into tens too. I can tell that there are 14 tens looking at the number. And last one, 210 ones equals blank tens and 10 ones. If there's 10 ones, I am still going to need 20 tens to make 210. Great job. Now we are going to do some shape review. In your last packet, you learned about different types of shapes. Here there are pictures of 3 different shapes with all different numbers of sides and angles. In the word box, there's hexagon, quadrilateral, triangle, and pentagon. Do you remember how many sides a hexagon has? If you said 6, you're right. I'm going to write a 6 above hexagon to help me remember. What about a quadrilateral? A quadrilateral has 4 sides. What about a triangle? A triangle has 3 sides. And what about a pentagon? A pentagon has 5 sides. Now that we reviewed that, take a minute to fill in what type of shape A, B, and C are. You can pause the video while you think about it, and then we'll go over it together. For A, let's count the sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. A shape that has 4 sides is a quadrilateral. I'm going to draw a line connecting them. B, let's count the sides. 1, 2, 3. A shape that has 3 sides is a triangle. For C, let's count the sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A shape that has 5 sides is a pentagon. Great job. Let's go over a few more shapes. Here are 3 more shapes. And in the word box, there are the same words: hexagon, quadrilateral, triangle, pentagon. As a reminder, a hexagon has 6 sides, a quadrilateral has 4 sides, a triangle has 3 sides, and a pentagon has 5 sides. Take a look at shape G. How many sides does it have? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a quadrilateral because it has 4 sides. Let's take a look at H. This is a kind of weird looking shape. Let's count the sides to see what type it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It has 6 sides. That means it's a hexagon. Even though hexagons we normally see don't look like this is still a hexagon because it has 6 sides. Let's look at the last shape. This is also a kind of weird looking shape. Let's count the sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 sides means it's a pentagon. Great job. Now this week in your packet, you are going to have addition problems. In school this year, we talked a lot about regrouping. So we are going to review that so you're ready to do your work. The equation here is 35 plus 5. What do you notice in the ones place? In the ones place, I see 5 ones and 5 ones. What's 5 plus 5? You're right, 5 plus 5 is 10. Can 10 go in the ones place? What happens to 10 ones? When we have 10 ones, we bundle them or compose them into a new 10. We make a new group, a new 10 when we have 10 ones. We also know that sometimes we get 10 tens. When you have 10 tens, you make a new 100. Let's look at some problems. Deb solved the problem above. Look at her work below. The equation says 52 plus 19 equals 61. I see that Deb decided to write a vertical equation. She lined up the ones and she lined up the tens. So here she wrote her tens. I'm putting a T for tens. And here she wrote her ones. She wrote a vertical equation. Do you agree with Deb? Why or why not? What did she do wrong? Pause the video and take a minute to look at Deb's work. Think about if you agree with her. If you don't agree with her, what mistake did she make? Pause the video and then we'll go over it together. Okay, let's go over Deb's work. Do we start by adding tens or ones? If you said ones, you're right. 2 ones plus 9 ones. I know that 9 plus 1 would be 10, so 1 more is going to be 11. Deb only made a 1, but it's 11 ones. What should she have done? 11 ones is 1 10 and 1 1. She should have made a new group below. With this 1 10, now you can see the number 11. 1 10 and 1 1 makes 11. So she forgot to make a new 10. Give yourself a pat on the back if you figured that out. Now let's add our tens together. 5 tens plus 1 10 is 6 tens. Plus 1 more is 7. Uh-oh. Because Deb didn't write the new 10 below, she wrote the wrong answer. This should be a 7. When we are adding, we always need to make sure that we make a new group if we have 10 ones or 10 tens. Otherwise, we'll get the answer wrong. In the last problem, Deb wrote a vertical equation. But in second grade, we also talked a lot about using a place value chart to help us model a problem. And I know a lot of students in my class liked using place value charts to help them. Let's look at this equation. 155 plus 36. How can we represent this equation on the place value chart? Take a minute to think. If you have some paper in front of you, write it down and you can pause the video and then we'll go over it. 155 plus 36. Let's start with 155. There's 100. I'm going to make my square for 100. There's 5 tens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's 5 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're adding 36. So we're also going to model 36 because we're putting those two numbers together. 36 doesn't have any hundreds, so I'm going to leave that empty for 36. But 36 does have 3 tens. 1, 2, 3. And it has 6 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I drew my 6 ones like they're in a tens frame, 5 and 1, to make it easy to count. What do we do now that we modeled the problem? Now we're going to put them together because it's addition. Should we start with our hundreds, our tens, or our ones? If you said ones, you're right. Let's start by counting our ones. Let's count them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ooh, stop. I know that 10 is that special number. Anytime we have 10 ones or 10 tens, we need to bundle them. So I'm going to stop right there and I'm going to bundle my 10 ones. What do I do now that I've bundled my 10 ones? Does it still belong in the ones place? No, it doesn't. I'm going to draw an arrow to the tens place. And I'm going to show that I made a new 10. Now I can finish with my ones. I have one left, so I'm going to make a 1 here. Now let's move on to my tens. Let's count the tens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Do I have to bundle anything? No, I don't. I only have 9 tens. We have to bundle when there are 10 or more. Now we can go to the hundreds. 1, that was easy. Now I have our answer. 100, 9 tens, 1 1. 191. Good job doing that problem with me. We are going to do one more problem together before you practice in your packet. In that last problem, we used a place value chart. With the problem before, for Deb's work, she did a vertical equation. Now we're going to try doing both. I know some students like doing vertical equations more, and some students like doing place value charts more. But it's important you know how to do both so you can check your work. The equation we have now is 132 plus 24. How can we line these numbers up to vertically solve them? And how can we use a place value chart to model it? Let's start by filling in our units. Hundreds, tens, and ones. I'm going to fill it in both places. Hundreds, tens, and ones. I'm going to change my color to make sure you can see well. Let's start with a vertical equation. 132. There's 100, 3 tens, 2 ones. 24. In 24, there are no hundreds, so I'm going to leave that empty. There are 2 tens and 4 ones. I'm going to add my addition sign. And in vertical equations, remember that we draw a line for the equal sign. Now I have my vertical equation with all my units lined up neatly. Now let's look at the place value chart. 100. I can show 100 with my 100 square. 32. 32 has 3 tens and 2 ones. Plus 24. 24 again has no hundreds, so I'm going to leave that empty. But it has 2 tens and 4 ones. Do we start adding our hundreds, tens, or ones first? We add our ones first. Let's start with our vertical equation. 2 plus 4 is 6. 3 plus 2 is 5. And 1 plus 0 is 1. 156. Let's see if we get the same answer in our place value chart. We're going to start with our ones again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 tens. And 100. We got the same answer both ways. In your work today, there are going to be some problems where you have to bundle to make a new 10 or a new 100, and some problems where you don't, like in this one. Don't get tricked. Make sure you are paying attention to your hundreds, tens, and ones, and that you're being careful so you know when to bundle and when not to. Don't get tricked. Great job practicing with me today. Make sure you send pictures of your work to your teacher. Awesome job, second grade.